And he's sitting there, and I'm looking at him, that pants on fire, and I says, your pants on fire? And he just keeps talking, you know, and I says, your pants on fire? And he just, finally he looks down, he jumps around, he puts it out, and he says, God damn, you didn't get very excited. And I said, wasn't my pant leg.
Continuing our program on Annie and Little Britches, Burt Lancaster's last film, we are fortunate today to have a world champion roper, Mr. Kenny Call, who made his film debut in Annie. Come on in, Kenny.
How you doing, my friend?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, let me say that you guys did a lot of heavy riding in that film.
Yeah, did quite a bit. Burt Lancaster, the very first shot that we really did any riding in, we had to go into this little house and sit in there and fiddle around. We all had to run out because the law was coming and we all make our big getaway. Well, we run out of this deal with the director. He tells me, he says, now, make sure you stay with Burt Lancaster, you know. I says, okay, you know, because I didn't know how good he rode or anything, you know. So I said, okay. So I go out and I get on my horse, and Buck Taylor, he's got to lead a horse out. So Buck says, hey, don't leave me, get this pack horse going. And I says, okay. So I run around there, I get on my horse, and I run around, I spin him around a little bit, and I run up behind there, and I get that pack horse going behind Buck. Well, then I got to catch Burt. And I mean, he's going. I said, man, you can really ride. He says, well, you know, he says, yeah, I can ride a little bit. He says, Yakima Canuck taught him how to ride. And I said, well, I believe you can ride. I mean, and so you never had to worry about Burt Lancaster after that riding a horse, because he could ride as good as everybody else on that show.
Oh, boy, I'll tell you, there's some fun stuff with you guys galloping around. And the girls, too, Amanda Plummer and Diane Lane, keeping up with you, too, I guess.
Yeah. Well, Diane, she just loved to ride. She's always wanted me to go ride around with her, you know, because we'd go right around there and stuff on them sets and stuff.
Well, this was your first film.
As my first movie, I was just like, you know, duck out of water looking around everybody. No one was to try and figure out what everybody was doing, you know. It's pretty amazing, you know, to get that much time and that much experience to really learn about what movies was all about. You know, it was really an eye-opener.
Were you a little bit nervous delivering lines?
No, that didn't bother me, because, I mean, you know, it's wrote down for you. You shouldn't have too much trouble.
Gosh, and I always heard it was so hard.
There, you just think what you said. Wasn't too tough.
But we'll get you out.
She got us out of this one. That was a smart move with them cattle, Annie.
With Burt being a good rider, did you hang out with him at all?
Not a whole lot, but I tell you what Burt did do, though, for me. Because, I mean, I had no clue about cameras or lighting or, you know, anything, you know. They'd have them little marks where you're supposed to stand on them, you know. So I'd walk out there and get my little mark and say my little line, whatever it was. And Burt, he'd always would rehearse it, you know, get everything right. So then we'd get ready to move, he'd move me. Maybe a step here, a step there, or whatever, you know, and he'd say, that's your mark. I'd say, okay. So we'd shoot it, you know, and I'd go in, I'd hit the mark he told me to hit, you know. And I never knew what he was doing for the longest time. But what he was doing, he was upstaging me. He was making me look better in every shot, you know, and giving me better lighting. Because he knew what, you know, he knew what he's doing, you know, but I mean, he'd move me, you know.
So when did you finally learn what he was doing to you?
I think when I saw the movie.
Well, he's a tricky guy, isn't he?
Yeah, he was good. He was really good. And another funny thing about Burt, though, because, I mean, Burt was always, you know, pretty, you had to kind of know, I was supposed to know what you're doing, you know. Well, we're in this one room and we're going to run out, you know, and I can't remember who says what before I was supposed to say my line, and all of a sudden I went blank on it. I didn't have a little cheat sheet. He was the only one there that was doing any talking besides me. So I finally had to ask him, and I thought, oh man. So he said, and he went through the whole thing with me, I mean, he really helped me a lot. He was really good to me because I guess he knew I was ignorant,
Well, had you already won your buckle for rodeoing?
It was right about that same time. It was that same, I don't remember if I had it then or later.
How were you cast in it? How'd you get that part?
Well, I went out there, Cliff Happy is a stunt guy, and they was shooting this thing out at, rehearsing it out there at Tony Epper's place. So he said, come on out there with me, because he knew I was taking these acting lessons and stuff, So I said, well, come on out there with me, we'll get you a reading on this. And I said, okay, so we go out there. So we're standing out there, and they're doing all these different guys are doing their stuff, and I'm watching them. And they give me a script, and I worked these lines out. It started raining, so I thought, well, I ain't gonna get to do it, So I go back to the house. Well, John Savage is in there, and so he gets talking to me and asks me what I'm doing there. And I told him, I said, well, I'm gonna try to read for this thing, but I don't know if it looks like I'm going to, it's gonna rain. Well, he goes back up there and talks to the director. And pretty soon the director calls me over there and says, find your script, find your dialogue. Well, I said, well, this ain't the script that they gave me, And he says, well, don't worry about it, we'll just improv it. Get on this horse and come in there and we'll improv it. So I get on the horse and run the horse in there. And Tony Epper's standing there. He said, really run him in there and make him stop. Well, I run him in there. Well, it's kind of wet right there where I was supposed to stop. Well, luckily this horse, he didn't stop that good, but that wet boy, he just slid right up there to the camera. I'm telling her, the director goes to yelling and talking to me, and I go to answering him, and I ride off. Got the part.
Wow.
I turned the horse around. He says, you're going to Mexico with us. I said, okay. Give him some boots. That was it.
I hope you thank John Savage for that. That sounds
John
great.
Savage, he got me the reading on that thing.
Obviously it worked because you ended up being in Lonesome Dove.
Right.
So how were you cast in Lonesome Dove?
Lonesome Dove. Well, that was kind of Robert Duvall. He wanted me to play the part of the guy that was chasing his wife, and that's what he told me. And so then they never did call me, or I never did get no auditions or anything for it, So then he found out that they never did audition me. Well, finally, this casting director calls me one day. She says, what, I got to get you in this movie. And I says, okay, that's fine with me. And so she says, let me call you right back. I said, okay. So she called me back 3 times that day. And finally, the 3rd time, they just gave me this little bit in this thing, But supposedly, because Robert Duvall, he found out they didn't even read me for the thing, and really made him mad, I guess. So I guess he really told him what he thought of it. But anyway, that's kind of how that all happened. And of course, I got to know Robert Duvall through Wilford Brimley because I was good friends with Wilford. And that's how I got to know him, and that's how it all happened.
Well, speaking of Wilford was part of the Ben Johnson Celebrity Rodeo circuit and was in a bunch of those. And you won a bunch of buckles from Ben. How were those put together? What do you remember about those?
Jerry Knowles down in Houston, Texas, and I actually met Jerry working on Catalani, and they was down there doing an oil deal. He was an oil man. And so that's where I actually met him first time. They used Ben, they got Ben to, of course, Ben, they knew him, and so they used his name basically and started this foundation for children deal. And the first one we did was in Houston, and it was amazing because they had it in the Symington out there in this little indoor arena out there, and I mean, it was held, I think it held 5,000 people or something like that, or 2,000 people, and it had 5,000 in there. And I mean, it was packed. You couldn't even walk around in there. And so anyway, that's how it kind of all got started, was through Jerry Knowles, and Ben started that thing. And it really become a family. I mean, we had like, everybody that was ever in that world, was there, I mean, from Annie Lockhart to Kay Lenz to Steve Ford to,
Buck.
Yeah. Everybody that was...
Even Boxleitner was in that.
Yeah, Boxleitner was at it, some of them. I mean, everybody was at them things, that was in that world, And it was really become a big group, and after the first one, I didn't really realize how important it was until the second one. And the second one, they brought all the kids out, and we rode around on horses and stuff. And after that second one, I told Ben, I says, anytime we do one of these, I want to be part of this thing.
It was so special when the kids would come out and get on those horses and get led around. It was a wonderful feeling.
Oh, I mean, and the thing about it that really blew my mind was those kids, a lot of them was dying, wasn't going to be there next year, But the thing that really blew you away was they're all happy.
Yeah.
Every one of these kids was happy. They was having a good time. There wasn't no sadness to it. It's really hard, just tear your heart out.
Yeah. You were in another classic Western, Silverado. Lawrence Kasdan's film. And Scott Glenn was in that too.
Silverado was really neat, you know. I mean, I really enjoyed doing it. John Cleese, he was funny, you know.
It was unusual casting to have Cleese in that, but it worked.
Man, him playing that chess game, that was really, and that was his whole idea. We were sitting there playing chess, you know, and he says, let me turn this around, you know. So he did this, see, you know, make me look like the dumb deputy there, didn't I? And which I really was, because I didn't know how to play chess. He wasn't lying, you know. It was all truthful. That was a true scene. But anyway, he turned that thing around. It was good, you know. And then, of course, we had a lot of fun. And in that jail scene where they hit me, they actually wound up hitting me one time there because I actually got down a little bit too low and they actually hit me. And they apologized. I said, no, it's my fault because I moved down too far, you know. But anyway, that was a lot.
Well, it's a classic, a good film too.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and you know, all them guys was good.
Now that was an early film. That was actually Kevin Costner's big breakthrough film for that too.
And you know, I'll find a funny story on Costner. We were sitting there, and it was real cold there, and they had an old building over there, and they had a barrel sitting there, and there was a fire in it. So I'm going over there, and I'm sitting there, and he's sitting there with his foot up on that deal, and all of a sudden his pant legs catch on fire. And he's sitting there, and I'm looking at him, that pants on fire, and I says, your pants on fire? And he just keeps talking, you know, and I said, your pants on fire? And he just, finally he looks down, he jumps around, he puts it out, and he says, God damn, you didn't get very excited. And I said, wasn't my pant leg.
Oh boy, oh boy. Just sounds like you're having too much fun making these Westerns.
Well, you know, that's what you're supposed to do, ain't it?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm always told, if you can't have fun, don't go.
Well, and Westerns, you know, the people who love Westerns are passionate about them. Why do you think that is?
This is America.
It's a good answer. And you've been a good guest.
Thank you.
All right, Kenny Call.
Thank you.
My name is Rob Word, and we love bringing these programs to you. We've got a lot more scheduled coming up. We post a new one every single week, and we want you to subscribe, like, and share. Thanks for watching.